Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles. And I'm Bob. You sure are. I hope that everybody's well. I hope that this finds you in a great mood. And if not, I'm glad that you're just with us, and I hope that this can be an enjoyable experience for you. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about you've changed. When somebody says you've changed, it's often a resentful admission, isn't it, that they see this growth and they feel left behind. It's a tool used to try to rein you in and bring you back to where you were before and to undermine who you have become.
So it's not a good thing then?
Well, it is not usually uttered because folk are happy that you're not who you used to be.
Sounds more like an accusation.
Well, yeah, you're right, Bob. It sure can come off like that.
I mean, how do you sleep at night when you know that people might not be approving of you?
With no underwear in case they want to kiss my ass. I saw that Jim Carrey said that, thought that was kind of good. I mean, is it normal to start disliking the people you were once close to as you become more self-aware? Yes, yes, and absolutely yes.
Would that be a yes?
That would be a yes. As you change, you begin to notice patterns and behaviours that simply don't align with who you are becoming.
As a kid, I used to watch The Wizard of Oz and wonder how someone could talk if they didn't have a brain. Then I got social media.
Ooh, harsh, Bob. It can be quite disarming as you wonder how you never noticed people's bad behaviour. That is not the question to ask or the road to wander down. It's truly just a waste of time. You cannot see what you're not ready to see.
Growth's a bit like that.
It is. Often these people will try to pull you back into old habits because they've decided who you are based on how they can benefit from you. They'll say you've changed, and they're right. You have. Unfortunately, they haven't. It's okay to move away and prioritise your growth. Yes, it can feel a little bit lonely, bit of a lonely path at times, but when you start healing, there really isn't any going back.
You know too much now.
Well, it just isn't for everyone. But for those of us who learn to lean into the discomfort, we begin to realise that it is all part of a process, and it is an essential part to becoming yourself, who you really, truly are. Yes, the loneliness is a part of the deal when we're becoming conscious of our values, beliefs, preferences,
passions.
Yeah, all of this. A clear indication that you are on the right path. I recall as a young woman, I remember describing it as though I'd gone up to a new level of learning. I used to refer to it as a new landscape.
Did you actually say that? You did, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. A new landscape. Further to that, I'd say for a time I was waiting to speak the new language, as in feel more comfortable, until eventually I didn't feel like life felt foreign.
Geez, how old were you?
I don't know, around about 28, 29. I was lucky that one of my dearest friends was a psychologist, and for her upcoming exams, she would ask me questions, and they were usually of quite a deep manner, and I could be really open, one, because she was a great friend, and also it was helping her out with what she was doing in relation to becoming a psychologist. So it gave me an opportunity to really think about what I thought and believed, and I learnt quite a wee bit about myself during that time. From then, an unusual perspective, and actually since then I've never really stopped.
I've noticed.
That's right. Hashtag you've changed. This is probably the one phrase that means the end for so many things. It's basically just another way of saying it's over. These words mean the end of friendships, relationships, partnerships, you name it. But what does this sentence really mean? It means that someone changed and the other person didn't. The person who didn't change is mostly the one saying it.
But why is change such a bad thing?
Well, it's not actually a bad thing. Isn't change the exact thing that got all of us where we are right now?
Yeah, I suppose.
Isn't change, reinvention and innovation the only thing that will help all of us get to the next stage to level up? I guess it is, but we all love security and safety so much. In a world where nothing is safe anymore, we crave stability, so that in a way, I guess, even more than we ever did before. But I say that very lightly because with every era has come fraught with huge challenges, none of which we will ever understand. But where we sit right now, it is such a big question with people, just the way things are going regarding, housing and availability and the pricing of just everything. So we cling to things we know already. We don't want things to change. We want things to stay the same forever. And even if it might hold us back from progressing, from levelling up, from becoming a better person, from being able to tap into our strengths and unleash our true potential.
That's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, tapping into our true potential. Yeah, that's a thing for sure, and something I've been interested in for years. I know it's hard. Change is hard, but change is probably the only constant we'll ever encounter in our lives. It's the only thing that will always be there, so you may as well embrace it. And whenever someone says, you've changed, you know what it really means.
Godfathers, what does it mean? You're probably on the right path?
Well, yeah, you probably are.
Oh, I have to ask, where?
Everywhere.
I knew I shouldn't have asked.
Anywho. So you changed. They sensed it. They will try to get you on board, but their voices will sound like they're coming from in the distance. And then you'll see it, perceive it, where mental clarity creates an abyss between the old and the new you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what about that? Maybe you haven't changed, but they build a picture of who they think you are, and further to that, what you're thinking.
Oh, the mind-reading people.
Yes, the mind-reading people. Then they accuse you based on that misperception. They don't acknowledge, let alone apologise. Walking away is the ticket. I moved overseas decades ago and did a lot of work on myself. And when I returned to familiar friendship groups on holiday in this instance, we were just not aligned. I had a lonely time for a while, but I've since made more beautiful new friends, as we do. And while we're on that subject, how small does our circle get? Over the years, my circle has got so small that it may not actually technically be a circle. But I have to say that lonely, transformational period was worth it.
An eye-opener, in fact.
Well, yeah, the old group got real nasty, indifferent, silent, and all in all, it was merely a pain in my ass and mostly disappointing. So, no, it didn't work. It never fails to amaze me how growth will show us who and what aligns with us. That lonely period, and you know what I'm talking about. It sounds hard, but it leads you to the right people and situations, experiences. Can I say it leads to you? Yes, the old group's behaviour was disappointing, but that was not about me and it didn't hold me back one bit. That old clarity stick is just a little bit fabulous, and that's right. You've become stronger. With true friends by your side, being a good friend to yourself, your own well-earned self-belief, and I hope you're proud. Smear campaigns, sad to think that these were people you once trusted. Hashtag, you've changed. Well, I bloody well hope so. That was my response I gave when it was said to me, geez, Linda, you've changed. Well, simply, well, I bloody well hope so. Growth is important to me. They didn't mean it in a complimentary manner, but I took it as a fair dinkum piece of feedback. Yes, my work was paying off, continues to pay off, not so much alignment that day. But who cares? Stick bubbly, not I. And here's cheers to the new you.
Yeah.
That's right. I read this and don't know who to give the credit to, but don't make excuses for mean people. You can't put flowers in an asshole and call it a vase. I like that one.
The older I get, the more I understand why roosters just scream to start their day. The old cock-a-doodle-doo trick. When I say the other day, I could be referring to it any time between yesterday and 15 years ago.
I feel you, Bob. The underlying implication of you've changed often depends on the relationship between the people involved and the specific circumstances of the change. It could imply growth or improvement. Conversely, it could suggest a decline or an unwanted shift in behaviour.
As I always say, where there's a will, there's a relative.
Thanks for that, Bob.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It could be because it's unexpected change. The phrase might also carry a sense of surprise, indicating that the change was unexpected or out of character. For example, if a typically reserved person starts to take on leadership roles, those who know them well might comment on how they've changed.
You know, I hate it when people are at your house and ask, do you have a bathroom? No, we pee in the garden.
Do we want to change? Now, there's the question. Yeah, it is a powerful one, especially in the context of this episode. It prompts introspection and challenges us to consider our true desires and motivations. I was considering ways to approach this topic. I think straight off to have an understanding for the desire for change, exploring why people might feel the need to change. Is it due to external pressures, personal dissatisfaction, or a genuine desire for improvement?
Oh, I think it's a genuine desire.
Well, Lordy, I know that one. I was restless for years, drove me bonkers because I didn't seem to be able to find a solution, a landing place that felt right. Now that I haven't been restless for years, I kind of missed the driving force behind it.
I'm never happy.
I believe getting clear with what was behind that force saved the quality of my life.
Interesting.
Societal expectations versus a personal intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, I don't know about what you just said, but the man who invented knock-knock jokes should get a Nobel Prize.
Really bad joke, really bad, Bob.
So, give us the tea. Societal norms and all that other guff.
Societal expectations refer to the norms, values and behaviours that society collectively thinks individuals should, well, let's face it, obey.
Can I go home for my nap now?
Yeah, but hold on, there's more. These expectations are shaped by cultural, religious, economic and historical factors and are often reinforced through institutions like schools, media and family.
Well, yeah, we know that, but can I have my nap?
Yeah, we do. And you know what? And it mostly sucks. Not your nap, but you know, how we organise ourselves in this life with societal expectations, which also can include pursuing higher education, getting a stable job, getting married and adhering to certain gender roles. While there's nothing wrong with any of this is your path, it doesn't suit everybody. And these expectations are external pressures that can influence a person's choices, sometimes leading them to conform, even if it doesn't align with their personal desires.
Man, that sounds so awful.
And is our largest society. So then personal intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is driven by an individual's internal desires, passions and values.
Now, this is what I'm talking about.
Is it, Bob?
Yeah, I think so.
It is the motivation that comes from within. It's fueled by a personal sense of purpose, satisfaction, what you're interested in. Unlike societal expectations, the intrinsic motivation is not about pleasing others or fitting into a social mould. It's about what genuinely matters to the individual. For example, someone might choose a career in the arts, not because it is highly esteemed by society, but because it actually makes them happy.
You know, you're such a good friend that if we were on a sinking ship together and there was only one life jacket, I'd really miss you so much, and I would talk about you fondly to everyone who asked about you.
Oh, your thoughtfulness is only outshone by your beauty, Bob.
Yeah, I know.
Hashtag you've changed. We cannot talk about you've changed without mentioning the fear of change, which can stand in the way of considering change. The bringing of uncertainty and discomfort is enough to put most dwellers off.
Oh, yes.
Investigating how fear can be a barrier and how understanding this fear is the first step to overcoming it. So a bit of thought has to be given in order to do it.
Ah, my forte.
What's that?
Thought.
Good on you, Bob. And evaluating the need for change. Sometimes we've got to reflect on whether we truly want to change or are we feeling obligated to change.
What do you call a fake noodle? An imposter.
Thanks, Bob.
That's all right.
We can use self-assessment tools like journaling or talking with a trusted friend. Journaling has scientific research behind it.
Oh, you'll love that.
Well, I do. I like to know that there is reasons why certain things work, and then I can share it confidently, knowing that it's not just something that, you know, I've found works for me and may not work for you. It works. With the value of mental health that it brings, it's of great interest to me because I've been journaling for years. The benefits of taking out of our minds and putting it onto paper, whether it's typing or, you know, handwriting, is equivalent to talking to a good friend because it soothes the body-mind component. I just find that absolutely So very interesting. When we've decided that we are committed to change,
Hey, how do you make an artichoke? You strangle it.
thank you, Bob. Bottom line is, true change requires dedication. It's not enough to want to change. There needs to be a commitment to it.
It's always something.
Well, that's right, Bob. A friend of mine who had a great paying corporate job worked herself almost to the ground and ultimately felt like she was wasting her time with all the misogyny, the extra time and effort that she had to make to even be a tiny contender in the game when it was all her work, being a leader and being expected to take notes at meetings when there were others who were far less experienced, far lower down in the rung of hierarchy. Can you imagine her handing over her notes to the coordinator to then do that job? You know, it's just, what would you call it?
I don't know, bloody hilarious.
Yeah, for want of another word. But those young men were not expected to do it. She was.
Misogyny.
Yep. Ultimately, she realised she was making this global company millions upon millions of dollars and decided to go out on her own in a smaller capacity and is totally happy and very successful. Oh, yeah. Good on you. You know who you are. All through making changes to what she was committed to, what she was motivated by, and getting focused on her own journey. I mean, that's how I busted out into my first business. I was being used and not paid properly in a restaurant situation that I was managing. Long story short, through bad behaviour on my boss's part, I eventually went out into a small takeaway shop / cafe of my own, and the rest of that, as they say, is history. Hashtag, you've changed. By reinforcing that change, it's a personal choice. If you truly want to change, you must be willing to put in the effort and embrace the challenges along the way. And I mean, if you really want to change, you'll do that automatically anyway. It's no biggie. And you know what is a fantastic experience? Highly recommend. Best buzz ever. A true confidence builder. Marble dwellers, if this speaks to you, reflect deeply on your aspirations for change, whether you are ready to take the necessary steps. And you are. You are ready. When you embark on a journey of personal change and growth, the benefits are, well, they're profound and life-altering, forever life-altering. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. You'll find yourself becoming more self-aware, confident and resilient. Your sense of purpose will sharpen and the quality of your life will improve in ways you could never have imagined. I mean, I could never imagine how much my life changed by making the changes that I hadn't dreamed or even thought of doing. Just suddenly I knew I could do this.
Hey, what's red and bad for your teeth? A brick.
Thanks for that, Bob. But alongside these benefits, there's a reality that often goes unspoken about. And sometimes the people around you don't change at the same pace or at all. This can present both challenges and opportunities. The realities of changing when others aren't, you can get the feelings of isolation, and that can be a pretty hard thing to take. The sense of isolation that can come when you're growing and those around you aren't. This can be lonely, especially if your relationships were previously built on shared habits or mindsets. So let's just think about it, really, most of them aren't they? Resistance from others. Change can be threatening to those who aren't ready or willing to grow or aren't willing to allow you to grow.
Oh boy, what a shock.
You might face resistance from friends, family or colleagues who feel uncomfortable with your transformation.
Again, I'm shocked. Nay, I am mortified.
Thank you, Bob.
Is that right?
They may try to pull you back into old patterns or question your motives. As you grow, there will be shifts in relationships, and consequently, your relationships may change. Some might deepen, just as others might weaken or even end, especially if they're based on the person you used to be, or rather than who you're becoming.
What about when others aren't changing, you can test your commitment to your own growth?
Well, it's easy to slip back into old habits, Bob, or mindsets when those around you are still living in that space. Staying true to your path requires a really strong sense of purpose and the ability to withstand external pressures.
I feel like I need a nap.
Well, you would, Bob. On the flip side, your growth can inspire others, which is always a wonderful thing. By staying committed to your journey, you might become a role model or a leader. in your community. Your courage to change can inspire others to take their own steps towards growth. You just never know who's watching or listening and at the point of upgrading their lives. There may be occasion to set boundaries. But if Bob was coming on there a little often, if others are actively trying to pull you back into old habits, it's essential to set clear boundaries. That could look like limiting time with certain individuals and maybe ultimately just not spending time with them anymore. Focus on your why. Keep your reasons for changing front and centre. When you face challenges or feel isolated, remind yourself why you started this journey in the first place. But you'll be right. When you're developing personally, it's game on. There's no turning back, which could bring us to practicing patience and compassion. Hashtag, you've changed. Recognise that everyone is on their own path and not everyone is ready to change at the same time. Perhaps don't let their pace dictate yours.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
I know, me too, Bob. Yeah. The end game is in sight. It's an opportunity to solidify your commitment to your own personal development.
Oh, yes, personal development, very Jar of Marble-esque.
What was that?
I'm trying to say Jar of Marble-esque.
Thanks, Bob. The benefits of staying true to your path, greater self-awareness, confidence, resilience, and a deeper sense of purpose far outweigh the temporary discomfort. And who knows, your growth might just be the spark that ignites change in others. This is a really big one. Truly, truly.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was speaking to a woman the other day who was talking about for a big chunk of her life, she just said that she just truly felt lost. And I recall seeing her back in the time frame that she was talking about, and she was quite right. She actually was. She was still functioning and at quite a high level, but she was very sad and quite unreachable. She had given up and was basically in survival state. The beautiful thing was she has returned and has come out of her inertia. She was back and had a strength about her that I had not seen, possibly ever. She knows who she is, and that shone through. She has changed, and it is a fantastic thing to witness.
Yeah, that's right.
There are so many true stories. Some I've witnessed myself with close friends, have experienced firsthand. We all know them. I was having a convo yesterday about generational curses, and to bring it right up to the minute, when one decides to not carry on tradition, say, of misogyny or trauma or cycles of abuse, just for the entree, just for starters. But when one decides to go no contact, breakaway, you'll get told, you've changed. In fact, maybe you haven't changed. Maybe you're not accepting someone else's series of rubbish choices as not yours anymore. It's quite the day when you don't have to do anything but follow your own good choices. If you come from a background of, say, I don't know, a really shitty family, you may have decided to step away from requiring anyone's approval, signed permission slip, if you will. You may have quietly decided no can do anymore, and so you don't. You are breaking away from a generation of trauma that you don't wish to inflict on your life, your darling children, your partner, your friends.
You've changed.
Well, I bloody well hope so. And yeah, I have. The trauma that ran in your family can end with you. It's not your fault, and healing is your responsibility. Walk your talk and all that. While the journey can be difficult, your choice to heal means that you won't pass it on to the next generation.
Whoa, I really like that one.
Yeah, me too. You can transform the legacy of suffering into one of happiness and strength.
Oh, take that one any day.
We have to know that generational pain can be passed down and is passed down, but we have the power to break the cycle. It's a mighty subject, this one, but maybe it's been on your bucket list. If you haven't done it yet, something to aspire to. We hear an awful lot about the subject now, as in it is becoming more conversational. It's becoming more and more a reality for people, normalised, to not only look at but to consider implementing in their lives. Changes that are monumental. I've seen it with my own friends. They have for years been on call literally to their family, and after so many, bottom line, so many displays of blatant disrespect, they're making themselves not available and sticking to their own plans. It is amazing how we can think we are making some fantastic difference in someone's life because their life is so full of woe, but boy, oh boy, that gets old.
Old.
And I've seen them metamorphosize right in front of me. And let me tell you, not a minute too soon. That bucket list, if the bucket list seems too deep, I read somewhere about gathering teacup moments, because it is the little moments that make up our days and nights. So often the ordinary moments that create beautiful memories, unbidden beauty are signs that whisper messages that touch us, soothe us, and give us a bit more peace. There are times when we are more open to every moment. I find I'm particularly receptive when my back is against the wall, where I feel all I can do is, feel. I wonder, am I in the middle of change? Is this change coming upon me? Is it change if I'm thinking about it? Life can be changing around us, circumstances. Sometimes life has you bound. You can plan ahead, you can't wander too far. It's not much fun when you know you're limited, so you have to find your sense of freedom in other ways. That can involve finding yet another way to look at your life so you're not gobbled up by fears. Change allows us to move forward in life and experience it through a different lens. Life presents situations that require our attention, and we can't allow certain things to carry on. So to the world, it may have looked like you've changed, but in truth, maybe you are opening your eyes and not wanting to cooperate anymore.
And I do likey that. I've often wondered, would Shaggy like Scooby Snacks as much if he wasn't so high?
Now that's a question, Bob.
Yes,
and this and more will be tended to, contemplated in more podcasts, more episodes coming up.
It's time to go, isn't it?
It is. And thank you, dear listener, for joining me again.
And me.
And Bob. It's been lovely.
Yes, it's lovely.
So say g'day to the family for me. Give the Icelandic sheep a cuddle for me. And we'll see you next time, okay? Okay then. Bye.
Bye.